Is the worst over? Bitcoin ticks back up after a brutal week as excitement builds around a possible resolution to the US government shutdown. Altseason RIP. It's time to retire one of the most overused words in crypto as the new reality of the market sets in. Here's what killed Altseason and how to play this new paradigm. Upcoming catalysts. Despite the market's recent struggles, there are still plenty of reasons to be bullish over the next few months. Here's what to watch out for. And a look at last week's top performers, dates for the diary, tweets of the week, Lewis with the TA, a portfolio competition update, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Yes, this is the Coin Bureau News Live, coming to you a little earlier if you're on Eastern time. It's 8 a.m, so I hope you're up with the lark, so to speak. My name is Guy. I am joined as ever by Nick. Hello, sir.
Hey guys, how you doing, Guy? How you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I had a bit of a late night last night. I'm not going to lie. So I'm struggling a little bit.
Struggling, and you just here, and you're here joining our fans on a Monday.
Exactly. I'm basically here to sort of extract some energy from our faithful viewers. So you guys have got to just keep me going during this stream. And
the markets are holding up as well, so that kind of helps, right?
Nice.
That kind of helps.
That definitely helps. That definitely helps. Yeah, last week was pretty tough, but we may be getting back on track a little bit. Okay, so we are, of course, going to be talking about that and many other things besides. Don't forget to smash that like button. Very important that you do that. You can see the little progress bar down in the corner there near Nick. If that gets to 100%, i.e. 1,000 likes, then we will have a little bit of an altcoin discussion focusing on the absolute dog's breakfasts that are our portfolios. Yeah,
and ideas around what we could potentially do should we hit particular levels. So you guys want that alpha, you know what to do. Hit the like button right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we will be, of course, updating you on our portfolio competition, and you will get some options to vote for a little later on, what coins we should buy, what coin we should buy, and what amount. So keep your eyes peeled for the polls coming a little later on.
Yeah, that $5,000 portfolio giveaway coming up, and it's not looking too bad, actually, given how badly the markets have looked over the past 2 weeks.
I mean, we're almost back at parity. We haven't lost an enormous amount of money, so that's good.
We're almost so back.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it then, Nick. Let's talk through. It was an interesting week last week, wasn't it?
Very interesting. Full cycle in 1 week. So let's roll back to Monday. It was a very rough day, no doubt about it. Bitcoin just completely fell down the stairway to hell. Broke through 108K, 106K, kept on falling. And then eventually on Tuesday, it didn't stop there. Went down 104K. Well, and the question is, would we break that 100K level?
Yeah, it was starting to look pretty dicey, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The long green mile meme was quite fitting for that, no doubt.
And the leverage players, I mean, even after the 10th of October wipeout, leverage players are still at it and still getting wrecked.
Still at it, still getting wrecked. $1.3 billion of crypto liquidations over Monday and Tuesday, and it was larger than the COVID crash. So you guys are back at it again. You couldn't even wait a whole month before you went back into the long leverage.
Degen's going to degen.
Exactly, whatever. And then also, not only the degens that were capitulated and forced out of the market, treasury companies, Bitcoin treasury companies started offloading. This is what many had suspected would eventually happen. In this case, it was Sequence, which I think is a French company. They sold 970 Bitcoin, and many were saying this is the first of many.
Okay.
And then Bitcoin broke through 103K as we inched closer to that dreaded cliff at down at 100K.
Oh, the doom. So then on Wednesday, we actually had some employment numbers, right?
Yeah. Now, this is very important because so far we have not had any official government employment data, no NFP because of the government shutdown. So market participants and the Fed have had to rely quite strongly on private payrolls data and surveys. And the ADP is one such survey of private payrolls, and it shows that just 42,000 jobs were created in October, which isn't amazing. although it was way less last month. I think it was negative. But there were other surveys as well that also weren't looking that good. This was the Challenger Data Survey, and it showed that there was a lot of job losses, and it was actually at a two-decade high, which is not all that surprising based on, if you remember last week, all those job cuts, the likes of Amazon and on big tech as well, and middle management. So it wasn't looking too good on the economy side.
All right. But we did manage to, well, I mean, this is, it's worth pointing out, isn't it, that this kind of government shutdown thing, this lack of data is, I think, being a bit of a drag on the market, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And that's because of the market participants themselves. People don't know what guidance we're going to have. And then also the Fed itself, right? Because the Fed relies on this data to be able to give forward guidance itself. Yeah. We did manage to recover a little bit on that day, on Wednesday, back above 104K. So the bulls fought back.
Yeah. But it was very it was just chop, wasn't it? There was a lot of chop.
City. And this is an interesting chart as well. This is from Check on Chain, I believe. And this is... shows just how much of that OG supply is coming back to the market and indeed has been selling. This is the revived supply of particular years when it comes to the last moved. And if you'll see, 2025 had the largest ever in terms of 10-year holders had been moving their coins. So we've had a lot of distribution from these OG whales to the new buyers in the form of ETFs and DATs. I would love
if there was some data from, like, yacht providers or yacht builders or like luxury real estate companies, sort of, are they reporting sort of waves of kind of rather pale, crusty old men sort of turning up with, Bitcoin fortunes?
Why would you assume they're pale, crusty old men?
I don't know. I just think
more likely to be like a
the
Gen
sort of
Z
guys they've just been like holding for so long. They've just only now emerging from the basement. That's my theory anyway.
So
you think it's just a bunch of Gen Zers? Do you?
I think it's probably more millennials basically in their hoodie, basically rocking up and naming their boat after Satoshi and stuff like that. Ostentatiously garish, golden.
How many boats have been named Satoshi by OGs selling out? So, but anyway, those OGs are continuing to dump on us.
And it's also interesting here. This is another chart. This shows the total institutional demand or accumulation. That's the likes of DATs and ETFs combined has actually fallen below the amount of net miner issuance. So essentially ongoing daily supply is outpacing demand, which isn't really a good thing.
Yeah.
Then on Friday, speaking of whales, Mr. Saylor himself decided that he tapped out the US market to go and raise a fiat funding to buy Bitcoin. So he thought, let me go over to those euros, the euro poors over there, and see if I can pick up some fiat from them in euros. And he was trying to raise, this is a 10% annual cumulative dividend on these new shares, the STRE, preferred shares. 620 million euros he's trying to raise to go and buy some more Bitcoin.
Talk about scraping the barrel, heading off to Europe.
I know, that's the last place.
He must have maxed out.
Where else can we please, any other countries? Can we go to Australia, Hong Kong, China? Somalia?
No, Europe. It's got to be Europe. Okay, and it's worth pointing out as well that although crypto sentiment has been bad, consumer sentiment in general is pretty good too. It's pretty bad.
Terrible. Yeah. This is the University of Michigan Consumer Confidence Index, and it was at its lowest level since 2022, which was itself near like a 1973 record lows. So that's not looking good. Consumers are worried about inflation and tariff scares, and this is also coming on the back of the government shutdown. So they weren't feeling too good.
Yeah. So this is Friday of last week, and of course we did actually dip below 100K on Friday, very briefly.
Wow.
Boinged back up again, fortunately, which does show that there was, there's obviously demand below that level. But Bitcoin had a tough week, and tech stocks too. It was their worst week since April, right? Yeah, it's
crazy. The AI sell-off. I think that these were running very hot, and I think that at that particular point, the government shutdown is still impacting on a lot of the markets. And given how much they fell the worst week since April, it is surprising that Bitcoin was able to manage to catch up back of 100K. So it's good. On the weekend, speaking of strategy, this James Chanos. He's basically Kinnikos for fund managers. He's well known for shorting the housing market back in 2008, and he made the news earlier this year because he'd opened up a strategy or MSTR short and Bitcoin long. So shorting strategy and going long Bitcoin to hopefully potentially make gains if the MNAV goes towards 1. So in other words, strategy, the Bitcoin outperforms strategies itself. And he's actually done quite well on that trade, but he decided he's going to close it, which means therefore, probably it's a bottom for MSTR or the MNAV on MicroStrategy. So that's a positive.
Okay.
And then we started pumping over the weekend. There we go, pump it up.
That was good to see.
Yeah.
But Nick, we've learned to be skeptical of weekend pumps, have we not?
We have indeed, yes. Yeah. Never trust the weekend pumps because they generally tend to, they could be manipulated and they tend to open up gaps, which we'll get to. But in this case, it was kind of warranted because it looked like the government shutdown was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And it's rolling towards that. There's been stuff they've made progress in both houses. So that's good.
Okay. And in terms of what's coming up this week, I mean, the government shutdown is very much the thing to watch, right?
Very much indeed. And then also with this data, a lot of data that could potentially now be published because the government is finally open. But even then, there's a backlog of a lot of stuff and all that. So don't expect fireworks immediately.
Okay.
The weekly chart, and just to quickly some charts, the weekly chart itself, we managed to break. Unfortunately, we did break below that previous support, which had been holding since June. But that being said, we still managed to close above a key level of the 50-week moving average, right? So that's a good sign. On the daily chart, if you bring that up as well, you'll see that every single day last week, we still managed to close above the 50-week exponential moving average, which shows you how much of a strong support it is. And then we are now heading towards the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement from the rally up to all-time highs, which was previously a support. We could potentially flip it to a support again. We'll have to see if it's not going to act as resistance. And finally, as I mentioned, because it was a Sunday pump, we did indeed open up a CME gap.
And there we are, your favorite.
As per usual, yeah. So I do hope we close it soon because then we can continue higher. But you know how these things usually go. It could hold out for a few more days and then come back later, or indeed weeks. So we'll have to see how it goes with Bitcoin.
Okay.
But if you guys are looking to trade Bitcoin and you looking for an exchange to do it on, then we couldn't think of a better place right now than 2Bit, which is one of our brand partners. It's a top-tier international exchange, and we currently have an offer on for our Coin Bureau viewers where you'll get up to 90K worth of trading rewards alongside a lifetime VIP level 1 upgrade. And VIP level 1 upgrade gets you 50% off trading fees for life. And they have solid interface, deep liquidity, and competitive fees. And the onboarding is super simple, right? All you need to do to onboard is an email, and that's it. And you can just try out the platform, see how it works. And then if you want to deposit to potentially avail yourself of all those trading rewards and bonuses, you can do it.
Nice, as the kids say.
Nice. Scan the QR code, link down below. Go any good, guys.
Fantastic.
So how's the sentiment looking, guys?
Sentiment is very mixed today, Nick. I can't tell whether our regular Brett is being sarcastic or not. Everything is dead. This is just a fake out before we go much lower. Brett, that's not like you. William O'Leary, Altseason will probably resume in 2029. That's a long time away. Sell everything down and run for the hills.
GTA 6 is coming before Altseason. GTA 6 coming November 2026.
Well, we can just play GTA 6.
So you can play GTA 6 until then, guys. Enjoy.
Yeah. Also, someone slandering me. He always seems to be hungover these days. What? Oh God. That's just unfair. Chronic Jack is a little bit more bullish. We're looking bullish, and anyone that says different is just scaremongering you to sell your bags and then they can buy it cheaper. I won't fall for it. We're coming into the biggest bull in history.
I love that optimism, man. Can we get some of that, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. VPN Consult is on the same jag. 180K before the end of the year. I'm buying more at these prices.
I love that, whatever he's smoking.
Yeah. I mean, I love that optimism. I love it. So much so that I might even give Carhartt a smile. There we are. Okay. So, God. It's such a struggle. It's such a struggle.
Here you are, guy, trying to come ahead, and you're hungover and all that. You're on the stream, and then you getting roasted as well.
Oh, I know. I should have just stayed in bed. I tell you, another thing that should have stayed in bed is Altseason, or did stay in bed.
Oh, Altseason, man. Is it time, guys? Is it finally time to admit it? Pull up there. Is it? Where's the? Yeah, I mean, 2017 to 2021. It lived a good life.
It lived a good life. Yeah, about as long as a sort of family goldfish. Yeah, it's. I think we've got to retire this phrase, haven't we? We've got to retire this word.
I mean, to be honest, because the Altseason 2021 versus 2025, guys, it's just a completely different kettle of fish. And speaking of kettle of fish, Messi on the right looks way more happy with his fish,
Yeah, Messi on the left looks slightly sort of unimpressed.
Teach a man to fish, and he eats for his life, So he knows and you can eat a fish. Not much you can do. You can't survive off the fucking World Cup, right? So,
you can't. No, that's very true.
I understand.
Nick. I'm sure no one's ever thought of it.
He's still way poorer.
That's probably why
he's richer in spirit. That's why it's Altseason 2025 versus Altseason.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out for 2025 Messi. So this idea of Altseason, this idea of everything going crazy, off the back of Bitcoin dominance falling, everything else going nuts is just no longer the case. Just in case you haven't noticed, but it is backed up by the data. If we take a look at Total 2, which is breaking down from its recent high.
Yeah, that's the altcoin market cap, everything excluding Bitcoin. We've also got, this is the ratio others to Bitcoin. So this is the ratio of the all others, which is all the coins below the top 10 in market cap to Bitcoin's market cap. It's at a long-term support. Pray to God we hold that support if we touch it again.
Goblin Town below
Goblin Town below.
And then we have a what Nick likes to call a Burj Khalifa formation on the search term for altcoins. Well, that's almost perfect.
Perfect fit, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a massive surge about a month or two ago. And everyone seems to have just forgotten about it again and not looking on Google anymore.
So the big question, I guess, then is why has this happened? What are the reasons? What are the main reasons? I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons, but what do we think are the main ones?
Well, one of them is that previously people would go and invest in altcoins because they wanted to get a higher beta play on Bitcoin and higher risk return, and that's what came in the altcoin space. And unfortunately now it seems as there's a lot more opportunity in other sectors. So, for example, listed equity for AI, right? And this chart basically encapsulated very well. This is Nvidia's price action versus Ethereum and Solana since the beginning of the year, and that itself just shows you exactly why the sentiment is so poor in the altcoin space. If you'd bought Nvidia, Ethereum or Solana at the beginning of the year, you would be up on your Nvidia like 30% or so. Yeah. Barely, like you'd be down on your Ethereum, just barely down, and your Solana you'd be down as well. So I think this is basically what many people in the crypto space are feeling, because they at the beginning of the year thought they were going to be that all their mid-curving friends were going long Nvidia or something like.
But their dad, who
NPCs,
insisted on buying Nvidia, has now having the last laugh.
How on earth can you go and make any sort of returns in such a massive market cap company? The AI bubble is going to pop eventually. I'm going to go and buy the future of finance, fast financial rails, Solana, and then your dad outperformed you by almost 50%.
Yeah.
In his 401k.
Ouch. And I think that speaks to the sort of wider trend of the fact that AI is many people just see that as the play now, and that is obviously sucking attention as well as liquidity away from crypto. Yeah. There's an interesting perspective on this from 10x Research as well.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys have got a Marcus Thielen over at 10x Research. They've got a lot of good perspectives, and they've called a lot of this earlier on. And according to their proprietary model, it's now they favor, the model favors Bitcoin over altcoins. And this has been the case since about mid-September, which obviously seems to be obvious. And then also what's pretty interesting in his recent note is that he mentioned and he compared this. One of the biggest microcosms for crypto traders as a whole is the Korean crypto degens. And, these guys go crazy, the esports competitions, the volumes. And since October, the volume on these Korean crypto exchanges has completely collapsed. There was also this very good post by Wu Blockchain, who also took a look into this and compared it to the volumes on some of the biggest crypto Korean exchanges. And it's basically happened at about the same time that the Korean Kospi itself has exploded in growth and volume. So Korean crypto degens and traders are now moving over to trade in equity space, trade the likes of AI-related stocks in Korea, and then also crypto equities like Bitmine, etc. So this is basically showing that, at least on the degen side, most people who trade are now deciding to go and invest in other higher beta assets in the tech and AI space. Yeah,
especially bad for XRP, because Korean degens, XRP was their favorite.
There's quite a few. There's also Clayton,
Yeah.
And ICP sometimes pumps on the Korean degens, so they pump their very random coins around.
Yeah, I don't know what the Korean for "come back, please" is, but basically that we need our Korean degens back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there was also an interesting perspective on it from Gracie Chen, who is the CEO of Bitget. She said that she pointed out that VC funding for Web3 projects is drying up, and that was obviously only made worse by that big black swan liquidation that we saw on the 10th of October. And yeah, the risk reward for altcoin traders is just not as good anymore.
No, definitely. And she also mentioned that most of these digital asset token treasuries, those that are still trying to raise, they're now doing it as token to equity swaps. So it's no longer just fiat. People are buying into these in pipe agreements, but they're basically using the tokens themselves to go and get equity, which is kind of like a sneaky way of trying to get exit liquidity from an early investor.
Yeah.
And trading volumes and market maker liquidity has just completely collapsed after the 10th of October liquidation event. In fact, there's many stories of market makers that have gone bust or completely got wrecked, and traders as well, high net worth traders, those involved in sort of delta neutral strategies who got wrecked by the HODL systems. So that has drawn a lot of the liquidity out of the space.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also worth pointing out this interesting tweet from Wintermute as well, obviously the big market maker. I'll quote a little bit of it here. Liquidity is expanding globally, yet capital isn't reaching crypto. They say the ETF flows have stalled, DAT activity has dried up, and only stablecoins are still growing.
Yeah, that's only growth there coming from stablecoins. But so what does this mean, Guy? What does this mean for playing this, doing this play for this season or this?
Well, and it pains me to say this because this is, I've very much been a believer in this strategy over the years, but buy and hold is kind of no longer, when it comes to altcoins, I just don't think is relevant anymore.
It's difficult, yeah. You need to be quite mercenary and jump around from different narratives and see where the capital is flowing, see what the smart money traders are doing, be willing to move, being dedicated to a particular blockchain and never marry your bags. That's so true. And especially so in the altcoin space, because as we've seen, on aggregate, most altcoins have gone down against Bitcoin, although there have been some that have outperformed. And that's important to be able to know that you can still make money with altcoins. In fact, more so, you're not going to get the max returns you're going to get on Bitcoin in this cycle, 20 to 30% from here, right? If we think 130, 150, let's say to the end of the year, altcoins rally by massive amounts on the daily, right? So it's about knowing where that is coming from. And, if you want to get some insights and alpha on that, that's what we've got the Coin Bureau Club for. Link down below.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think as well, again, this is something, I think this is going to be a big lesson that I personally take from this cycle as well. It's like when you see something pumping, when you see a narrative pumping, it's like if you take the time even, to mid-curve it, you're kind of too late. There's that sense, it's like you see it pumping or you hear rumblings of it, you just got to get on that. And what's been kind of odd about the privacy one recently is that it's actually lasted quite a long time. Because when Zcash started pumping a few weeks ago, I was sort of the opinion it's like, well, this will be a nice little pump. Some people who've held ZEC for years and years will have a nice exit, and then it will rotate elsewhere. And it's weird that it's kind of been so prolonged. And of course, we're seeing other privacy coins and tokens pumping as well. Yeah,
momentum is something you just have to get behind, right?
Yeah.
And this crypto native capital is just rotating through different narratives, and if you can be slightly one step ahead and anticipate where this crypto native capital could be going. And follow that, then you're going to succeed in this cycle. It's not like the previous play altcoin season where you can hold everything or anything and it's going to pump. Yeah. But if you are thinking of buying and holding against our advice and you want to hold these altcoins for life, well, then you can do it. Best place to do it is in a hardware wallet, and we couldn't think of a better one to do it with than the Tangem device. So this is our second brand partner, Tangem. It's basically self-custody and it's your all-in-one crypto solution with no seed phrases or middlemen. And they've actually got a special promotion going on right now. And this is the Tangem Pay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you can now hold it. You can now hold your crypto if you so desire on a hardware wallet, nice and secure, but also pay with it, also spend with it.
Yeah, it's a non-custodial payment account built right into the Tangem wallet. And it's with a virtual Visa card as well. And most importantly, the funds stay on-chain. It's a key part. Users can deposit USDC with Polygon, for example, on the Polygon chain into their self-custodial Tangent Pay account, and then you can just top it up in a non-custodial way. So you can spend USDC directly with your Tangent hardware device. So you can now join the waiting list for this card, the waiting list for the Tangent card, by scanning the QR code right over there, and the link will be down below. And if you still haven't got a Tangent device and you want to buy a Tangent device, we of course have a 10% discount over on the Coin Bureau deals page and with a link down below, and you can buy yourself a Tangent device and get ready for the self-custody payment solution.
Fantastic. Okay, Nick, it's time we, update on the likes. We are 30% of the way there. Not bad, but could do better. Yeah. But we've kind of done the funeral oration for Altseason. So now I think it's time for a bit of positivity. We need to look at some of the catalysts, for some potential upside. And again, this is one of the crazy things about this market, because there has been loads of good news, and there is still loads of good news in the pipeline.
Yeah. Yes. What Charles Dickens was such a wise man.
Have I just not slept enough, or is that me as Charles Dickens? It's me as Charles Dickens. Okay, fantastic, wonderful.
"'Twas the worst, the best of times. 'Twas the worst of times," says Charles Dickens. Or if you want a more of a relatable meme, it's everyone has the same eyes but a different view. The glass is not half empty, guys. It's half full. We are so back. And that's because there's a number of catalysts coming up in the next few weeks and months that are something to look forward to. So one, as most importantly, as we've covered, is... This is true. Good one, guys. So one that is true is that we talked about is the government shutdown, which is going to potentially come this week. It's going through the House and the Senate. Now, why is this bullish? And I put out a tweet. There's a few reasons for this. One is the liquidity constraints will begin easing. So that's the TGA, right? So this is the Treasury General Account that's been accumulating ever since the government shutdown started. It's above the $850 billion target by about $150 billion. And now that the government is open again, it can start spending. That's going back into the economy. That's increased liquidity positive. We also then have lawmakers finally are able to go back and actually work for the people. Yeah. And they will then push hard on the clarity or market structure bill, which is very important, a very important bill to come forward for crypto. And then someone else who's back at work, another agencies, is the SEC and CFTC. And the SEC is really important because they have a lot of paperwork to do with the upcoming ETFs.
Yeah, all these spot altcoin ETFs, which were kind of slated for October, really, weren't they? They've obviously been affected by the government shutdown. We have had a couple approved, but basically there is a flood of those applications, which I think the Bloomberg ETF guys, who are obviously the authority on this, are, very, very confident that they will get approved. So they're coming as soon as the SEC gets back into the office. Yep,
and then. Additionally, other people are going to be getting back into the office are the data collectors over at the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this is, again, as we mentioned in the beginning of the stream, we'll get more economic data to work with. And the Fed can also be able to give us more guidance in terms of interest rate policy decision because they have this government data.
Yeah.
And then speaking of the Fed, we've also got the QT coming in December, right?
The end of QT,
or end
finally.
Of QT.
Yeah. Now, as we pointed out many times before, this doesn't mean QE, but it does mean that quantitative tightening will be coming to an end. That will have an effect on liquidity. We probably won't feel it immediately, but we will. That liquidity conditions will improve as a result of that.
Yeah, in December. And then speaking of the Fed, don't forget, guys, that next year Trump, or he'll announce it probably by the end of the year, but next year Trump is going to try and install an Uber Dove, a Trump loyalist, as quoted by Ed Yardini over here. So he will be an Uber Dove. Trump will want him to run the economy hot. Whatever you think about that, that's just the fact. He's going to want to run the economy hot into an election year.
Yeah. And then something that I don't think has kind of been really talked about enough is the fact that the Supreme Court are looking over these Trump tariffs, and there is a there is a pretty decent chance that they may actually strike them down. They may actually rule them illegal.
Yeah, I've been watching the commentary coming from the court, and many of the justices, including many of the conservative justices, have been skeptical of the arguments made, specifically the fact that the Trump administration does not have the authority to raise revenue.
Yeah.
And this whole idea, and, it's kind of ironic because Trump has always been talking about how much money the tariffs have been raising, and his lawyer was arguing, no, it's not revenue generating. We're just trying to use national security. We're not trying to raise revenue. What you've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they've taken these tariffs, I think are estimated to have taken in around $200 billion. And if the Supreme Court does strike these tariffs down, I mean, you'll obviously get appeals from the Trump administration, but it could mean that $200 billion needs to be returned to U.S. businesses.
Mini stimulus, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a kind of, a form of stimulus. So although that may take a while to play out with appeals and everything, that is potentially huge. I kind of think that's probably going to result in a lot more volatility.
It will, because
a lot more uncertainty.
But he has made it Trump's administration has said that the Supreme Court should make this a priority. So apparently the judgment could come as soon as December.
Okay.
Right? Even though it was also originally slated for next year, June, the judgment could come very soon.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the Supreme Court is now sort of heavily conservative in its weighting, and obviously a lot of these, a lot of the more recent appointments have been by Trump himself, and it's interesting that they're sort of not really going, towing the line. I mean,
they know, because if you have let's imagine there's Democratic president next, like in 3 years, 4 years time, one of the arguments made was John Gorsuch had said that, if you have a Democratic president who can go and issue a national security directive and they go and put tariffs on, for example, on petrol cars, because they were all gasoline cars, because they're worried about the climate emergency. So if you kind of create, you open the floodgates.
You don't want to create a precedent. Yeah.
Exactly, legal precedent.
Yeah.
Speaking of some more bullish news, this is Coinbase. They released a report end of October, an institutional report, and there's a number of different points which we'll quickly read through as to why they're still bullish and optimistic about the outlook in the next few months. So for one thing, they say the October sell-off was likely a reset, not a top. Markets appear to have found a near-term bottom, and you can see the massive liquidation there outsized, and that was just the flush that was needed.
Okay, that's good to know. So Coinbase is bullish.
Yeah, and then institutional players were insulated and could lead to a next leg higher. And this is also interesting. This is basically the implied Bitcoin price based on these skews created from option strategies. And you can basically see the projections of the price over there, between 90 to 160K in the next 5 to 6 months. So obviously it's quite wide ranging, but it's not, at least probabilistically, we're not going below 90K.
The price could go anywhere between here and there. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, at least we're not going below 90K, right? So look on the bright side, guys.
Okay. That's the really bearish shorts aren't going to get their wish. And yeah, there's now. I mean, we've seen this a lot before, but obviously the cycle may be extending into 2026, if we can even call it a cycle anymore.
Yeah. Damn. Well, but I mean, it's still. Hopefully, it's not. We're not reaching any sort of blow off top in the next few months.
Yeah.
And indeed, that last all-time high wasn't the top. And Coinbase doesn't think that, so that's bullish.
Yeah. So all in all, I think really we're in one of those periods now where it kind of feels like it's over. But this is the sort of time, when it feels like it's over, that's a suggestion that the bottom is either in or getting damn close to being in. So it kind of feel, the contrarian in me sort of says I should be probably a lot more bullish.
Yeah,
as a result.
When there's blood in the streets, you need to be buying. Max Payne, this is Max Payne. And if you are looking to trade ahead of this potential upcoming rally to new all-time highs, you're going to need a portfolio to do that with. And this brings us back, of course, again to our portfolio giveaway. And this is a giveaway that we're running over on Bitget exchange. So in order to participate, basically the MO of the competition is that at the end of the quarter, so at the end of this year, we're going to be giving away the portfolio that we're building up here on the stream. It's currently at about just below $5,000 in value. And in order to participate, all you need to do is 1, have a Bitget account, and 2, be a viewer of the stream.
Yep.
And then you can sign up right now using the QR code on the screen or the link down below. And you can also avail yourself of all the benefits and bonuses Bitget has, including trading fee discounts and 50K USDT bonus.
And a potential iPhone win as well.
Exactly, yeah. If we get up to 100 traders in the streams, we give away an iPhone, which is still on the cards. Now when it comes to the competition itself, we're now going to open up a poll. And this poll will be for you guys to vote on the potential coin we can add to the portfolio this week.
Yeah.
And the options are, Guy.
So we've gone for things that are hot at the moment. So the options are ICP, XRP, NEAR, or good old BTC Bitcoin.
Yeah. So speak now or forever hold your peace. The poll is live right now. So go and vote, guys.
And of course, use the comments to give us your opinions on those polls, because I always like it when people start frothing at the mouth over the ones that we've chosen. But so choose one there, let us know, and then a little later on we'll have another poll. How much of the portfolio should we allocate to the winning coin? All right, so we are 40% there on the likes. Again, good, but can do better. Yeah. So let's have a look at last week's top performers. We've got an interesting list this week.
Indeed, we do. And the first one is a coin called Soon. It's a high performance roll-up stack on Solana's virtual machine, or SVM, and its Binance Alpha listing and its X402 integration has helped push the pump.
Yeah, that's a hell of a chart, isn't it? Going back to that spike a few days ago. Wild.
I mean, yeah.
Completely organic, I'm sure.
Of course.
Okay, next up we have StarkNet and its STRK token. StarkNet is in the middle of an interesting kind of pivot at the moment. It's kind of aiming to become this sort of full execution layer for BTC-Fi, this emerging sort of Bitcoin finance space. So I think there's a lot of excitement around it there. I also think it's got a near intense listing coming up soon. Now, obviously, near intense is closely associated with Zcash and ZEC. And I think one of the reasons why that has been flying recently too. So I guess maybe that sort of near intense thing is is good for StarkNet as well.
And also the ZEC, ZK adjacent narrative as well.
Yeah.
Another coin that's pumped a lot that's on the poll right now is Internet Computer, ICP. Yeah. And this seems to be because of the Caffeine AI vibe coding tool. It still seems to be the main catalyst.
I was playing around with that last week. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's interesting. Like I vibe coding is not something I've tried before, but I was sort of having a fiddle around with it, and it seems pretty cool. So it's obviously there are going to be lots more tools like this coming out.
Have you developed something?
I'm in the middle of developing something. Okay, cool. I mean, I don't, I'm not even sure I'm
the next $1 billion app idea.
Exactly. I'll do a Kobe. I'll just develop this app, sell it to Coinbase for $300 million, and then I'll do this stream from a gold throne. There we are. How about that? Okay. Next up, we have Filecoin. Here's a blast from the past. Now, I think this is kind of related to the whole privacy thing, but also the fact that I think, in the wake of the recent AWS outage, I think a lot of people are kind of realizing that having everything hosted on AWS maybe isn't a great idea.
I don't know, Guy. You think that's the reason?
Yeah,
That's quite a reach there, mate. That's a reach, quite a long reach, trying to explain that pump, bro.
Listen, I'm just calling it as I see it.
You're reaching, Guy, but okay, fine.
Okay, you think it's
totally, yeah.
You think it's a totally organic pump?
I think someone's got a Filecoin bag.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyways,
fair enough.
Next one is Decred or DCR. I mean, this is also privacy, privacy and OG adjacent, right? Because it's the same year, the same pedigree as Zcash. Although I personally don't know why it's pumping as much, because I don't even think like Decred is known for its privacy, its privacy features. That's generally Monero, and then Zcash. But hey, let it have its pump.
Speculation, Nick. Speculation. That's sometimes.
Don't mid-curve it, man. As we said earlier, don't mid-curve it. Just get on board,
Yeah. Okay, now we have almost got some TA with Lewis coming up. But first of all, we're going to close the poll on which coin we're going to buy this week. And we're going to give you an option to decide which percentage of the portfolio we ape into that with. But do we know the winner, guys? Bitcoin. Okay. All right. We are buying Bitcoin again for the second week in a row.
There you go, man.
I mean, we made money on Bitcoin last week, so you guys obviously know what you're talking about. Okay.
Now you vote the percentage-wise. We got 4 options, right? 25, 50, 75, or you full port your stables into Bitcoin. You guys decide.
Absolutely. Let us know. Okay, right. Let's get some of that sweet, sweet Lewis TA, shall we?
Charts and trends, he'll show the way. Lewis brings the TA today.
What's going on, guys? Okay, so I think it's no surprise here for the third or fourth week in a row now, we have to start off with none other than Zcash. ZEC has been stealing the entire crypto show. Seriously. I mean, it's literally up almost 9x, essentially 10x, if you count it from the bottom to the top, since October 1st, which is absolutely nuts considering how the entire market essentially is down. So at this point, we obviously know something is going on with ZEC. If people caught the stream 2 weeks ago, then they would have gotten in right around here, around $300. But now, you know, I hate to say it, I just don't like chasing green candles like this, even though at this point, you know, who knows? You know, I've seen talks about $10,000 Zcash, right? But the good news is that since this has been on such a powerful run, that if it does have a pullback, then it's going to be just probably the best buying opportunity in the entire market. And so I don't know if it will come down here, but I would probably want to set my bids down here between, you know, $455 to $425, just because that's where this big cluster was, the last area where there was a lot of price action before it just shot all the way up. And a lot of times price does like to come back down to what we call like the origin of the move, right? So I'd like to get in somewhere around there. Plus you could see there is sort of this big microphone pattern that's starting to form, which I don't necessarily like, but at least down here it's closer to the bottom than it is closer to the top. And obviously you want to buy closer to supports compared to closer to resistance. So I'm going to put some alerts in down over here and then look for some buying opportunities if it even decides to come back down here. But it's been such a runner that, you know, who knows. And staying with the privacy narrative, we also have Dash, which is a coin that I pointed out last time as well, but it hasn't yet come down into the zone where I wanted to buy, which was between $65 and $55 essentially. This is where I would want to be looking for buying opportunities because it had a really, really big run up, and now I think it's going to come back down. And I think it's a good idea typically that if you want to get into something, you could ride the wave and potentially go with the momentum. So this, you know, this is already up the same way how Zcash is already up. And so in my opinion, if you're trading, it's better to look for the coins that have already gone up, like ZEC, like Dash, like some other ones, and then try to get in on the retraces so that you're just going with the momentum. You know, they always say the trend is your friend, right? So I'll be looking for longing opportunities somewhere down in that area for Dash. And if we're going to continue to stick with the privacy narrative, which seems to be all the rage because of Zcash, the one that you could look at is Monero. This is another one because it is actually up from October 1st, unlike, you know, a lot of coins that tanked in October and have not reclaimed their October highs. This one is still up, and you can see it's actually been up in a nice uptrend since April of 2024, just making higher lows and higher highs essentially, and it just reached its peak literally last week. And so obviously I wouldn't want to be buying it right now because it's so close to its 2021 highs and even its 2017 highs, right? But you know, if it's gonna do something similar to Zcash, then it's probably one that I want to be getting, even though I'm usually pretty against privacy coins, like trading them, because over the years there's been so much headwind with the regulations and the delistings and stuff like that. But I think ever since Trump got, you know, put into office, these privacy coins have been doing pretty well. So I think it's okay to be getting them now or to be trading them. And so for XMR Monero, I want to be getting it at this really big support resistance area, somewhere around between $368 and $346. You can see there was massive resistance, you know, boom, 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 you know, $346 just constantly getting rejected from, and then it came back above there. So if it does come back down to, I would say like 345 to 350 is such an ideal area for Monero, because not only is it that big support resistance flip, but it is also this, you know, diagonal trend line as well. And you could, you know, go into a lower time frame to just see that it's just constantly moving higher and higher and higher, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. So maybe it'll create another higher low somewhere around here, and then go up to the all-time highs, and then maybe even smash through it and you know, have some massive gains. who knows? We'll see. And so I guess today's TA was really all about privacy coins. And so I just want to end it with this. Over the last week, there was a lot of coins that, went up pretty significantly. You can see ICP is a good example of that, where it sort of just busted through this entire zone back here. And so if you see something like this, if it does come back down, I mean, technically that would be a good time to get in, because I think I mentioned this last stream, but typically you don't want to be buying when things are going down like this, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, right? If you're trading, if you're investing, maybe you could get in, at a discount, right? At a value. But if you're trading it, you typically want to wait until it creates a higher high and it sort of breaks that market structure. And a lot of coins, I think this past week, have done that. So I would say if there is an opportunity for us to actually start going up again with this market, I mean, you guys talked a lot about the good fundamentals that are coming, and now technically there is some hope. I don't know. I don't have too much, but it is there. It's better than what it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, right? So it is there. So I would say just like look for these type of things. And then if you do decide to take a trade or bet or gamble or whatever, at least you're going in the direction of the trend, which is now, an uptrend. And so you have a much higher probability of the coin actually turning around and going up in your favor. And so fingers crossed that all of these pumps that we just experienced don't fully retrace again. We'll see, but at least there's some hope now. And with that, I'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. I mean, you got a few of you said out loud what we were both thinking here in the studio as well. What is he wearing? Is it a backpack?
Is it a backpack? Is it suspenders? Is it a gun holster? Is it a parachute?
I think it's a holster. I think he's got two Colt 45s
just red
stacked
fire.
under his
shoot at the,
Yeah.
Shoot.
Okay, that was great. Thank you, Lewis. Lewis will be back next week with some more TA. Let's now have a look at some tweets of the week.
Tweets of the week.
Start with an absolute banger from who else but Gwart. He's one of our favourite tweeters. Sorry, whilst I'm coughing, you read it out, Nick.
If you go back and read about the tulip mania in 1637, you realize that the bubble was not in fact caused by irrational exuberance, as historians have claimed. It was actually Wintermute. Which is indeed true. It was. And not only that, they were also responsible for the South Sea bubble as well.
Yeah.
So, Wintermute has gone back centuries.
I think they caused the Great Depression, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Bloody Wintermute. Maybe we should get Evgeny on the show one day and just berate him.
We're asking the manipulation tactics to pump tulips.
Yeah. Okay, great one from Gort there. Next up, we've got this one from Urkel. These two guys are going to be responsible for either the next generation of millionaires or a poverty and bankruptcy pandemic. No in between.
Let's ride. Yeah.
Hard agreed. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. We also have this one. Maybe okay. It's already Q4 and you've barely touched your 2025 roadmap.
No, man, that relationship looks like it's going to be rugged soon. Pretty soon it's going to be like, babe, I got to tell you something, about that roadmap I was promising, about that TGE we were promising,
Absolutely.
We've run out of resources in this relationship. It's time to part ways.
Just says it all.
It's not you, it's me.
God. Now, we also have this one. Now, I've decided on this one, Nick, because I'd quite like you to explain yourself here. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this got way more traction than I was expecting it to. It was basically a shit post.
Right.
And it seems a lot of people in the people in the comments were going at it because it was very... Yeah, it was, like I say, I mean, I mentioned the fact that Trump is trying to do a 4D macro play and hand out tariff dividends that's going to be paid back. And then the Fed will have to print more money. And this is going to lead to cheaper imports, which ease inflation. But then many people pointed out, of course, you print in money, so that's going to bring back inflation. But it was just a shit post. And it seems to have gone viral. And a lot of angry people in the comments. But yes, it was meant as a shit post. Yes, it was meant as engagement. And yes, indeed, I did get a lot of that engagement. So thank you for all the Twitter revenue you guys have given. But,
there you are. He's telling you, he's saying the quiet bit out loud. He's telling you how he does it. It's quite sophisticated for a shitpost, is what I say.
That's the thing. You got to catch them. You got to bring them in. You make them think they're reading something quite insightful and intelligent.
Stop the world. I want to get off.
Tinfoil hat on, tinfoil hat off.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look at some dates for the diary and coins to watch then. It starts off Wednesday. We've got something from the Fed, right?
Yeah, we got speeches by Barr, Williams, Waller, and Paulson. So all of them are speaking. So that's important. See what guidance they give when it comes to interest rate policy.
Okay.
We've also got Circle's earnings.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, see how that's
How
been
much?
doing.
Which are basically all going to Coinbase anyway.
50, yeah, exactly. Most of it, right? How much is it going to help pump Coinbase's stock?
Yeah.
Thursday now, we have CPI should be coming. Well, no, that's when it's scheduled to come out, right? But even if the government, first of all, the government shut down in terms of timeline, they think it will probably only reopen by Thursday. And even if it was just slightly before that, a day or two before that, it will take some time to gather this data and to actually be able to publish the CPI prints. So we're not likely to get it by Thursday, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay. We'll just have to live without the CPI.
Yeah. But keep an eye on all the information and news coming. I know you're dying to get those CPI numbers. I know that's the only thing you look forward to in a month is the how much goods have gone up in price in the US, right?
I mean, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Try harder, US government. But the shutdown could be ending Thursday, so who knows? As we mentioned before, US Supreme Court hearing arguments on Trump's tariffs. So, like we said, pay attention to that. Okay, shall we do the results of the trading?
Yeah, let's do that. So what allocation percentage are we going with, guys?
25%. I like it. I like it. Nice and conservative. All right. Let me throw up my screen then, wherever that is. And we will do that by now. So we're buying Bitcoin. We're going to go 25%. Oh, that's 26%. Slide it there and buy BTC.
There you go.
Ooh, I like
Hang
that.
on.
I like that little jingly coin. That's nice. I like it. Okay, and let's just have a look at the comments as well. There was an absolute banger of a comment here, and I've lost it. But I really want to highlight it. Oh yes, this is from Sell Opera. The market is so volatile. My autocorrect goes to bullshit every time I try spelling bullish. Yes, we've all been there. Shall we give the last word to Satoshi Nakamoto?
The last word.
Satoshi Nakamoto is back, folks, in the comments of the Coin Bureau live stream. I'm honored that you could join us, Satoshi.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Bitcoin is king. Everything else is a shitcoin.
Hey, man.
He's back.
He's spoken, guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not going to sell. He's not going to sell with the other OGs. Satoshi.
That is the last we need. Satoshi coming back and just cheating into the market. We've also got this from Lewis Guy. The Great Depression best describes my portfolio due to altcoins. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Okay, any other business?
This one, Brett Thompson says the bottom was clearly in last night for you guys.
Oh. Brett, I mean, oh God, just kick a man while he's down, eh? Kick a man while he's down. Okay.
That was the Great Depression.
That was, yes, I'm in the middle of my own Great Depression. This is the Great Depression. But you know what they say, things always look better in the future. So we will be back next week. Yep. Maybe the market will be doing even better then.
Well, it's looking like it. Where we at now in Bitcoin, 106.5. We hold in there. That's looking good.
Okay.
Just don't forget about that gap, guys.
All right. We'll close that CME gap and then higher. So we will be back same time, same place next week. Thank you for joining. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
A dog's breakfast. I'll be using that as my own later today and beyond. Thank you. This show is the only fun thing left in crypto at this point. Denied my application. Satoshi Nakamoto is your mom. November to remember. Move it. Hope for it. Wind it. Cope for it. Move it. Hope for it. Wind it. Cope for it.
Mate, gotta stop drinking, man.
Oh, who has their birthday on a Sunday? What?